One of the most inspiring films I saw last year was Moving Still, a documentary about the life, creativity and running of Joe Greer, who is one of the most talked about photographers online and beyond. And the filmmakers behind this feature-length documentary film made a really bold decision when they decided to release their movie completely for free on YouTube. Here's why you should see this moving, beautiful, inspiring and motivating documentary. So Moving Still tells the story of Joe Greer, who grew up in a really difficult and traumatic family background, but achieved to become one of the most talked about photographers of his generation. Simultaneously, the film is centered around his ambition as a professional athlete, running, and the whole motivation and psychology behind that. And in addition to that, the film also takes us into his family life with his wife and the birth of his first child. So what you get from a film like Moving Still is not just a really entertaining mix of creativity, sports, and a personal family story. The most unique, important, and inspiring is the holistic approach on viewing success. This film shows us that being successful is not about reaching a certain goal in your career, but how faithfully and righteously you're living in each and every aspect of your life. And nowadays, when it comes to people, especially working as creative professionals of any kind, the personal aspects are really overlooked and not talked about. And I just loved how the film showed how if you come from a problematic or traumatic or messy background like Joe did, you can still grow out of that even if it's really difficult. The filmmakers clearly had a really big passion for the running and photography of their subject, but they didn't shy away from showing the vulnerability and brokenness of the protagonist, and without oversimplifying that, and without also crossing into being over sentimental or sad. And this is such a hard target to hit, coming from someone who's also done short documentary films, and I just think they did a really great job with this. Now, while this film is available for free on YouTube, this documentary is a high quality feature-length film that looks, sounds, feels like something you can watch on a big streaming platform or could be in theaters. There's a big scope of interviews, shooting locations, like the cinematography is really stylish and cinematic. The music selection is on point and the editing ties it all together. It's a serious, sad, emotional film, but at the same time motivational, and overall just a very entertaining watch. Like the 1 hour and 40 minutes go by like this when you watch the film. Now, I knew some things about Joe Greer beforehand, and there was one big thing that was missing for me from this film. That is Joe Greer's faith in God. I've seen a podcast interview, I'll also link down below, where Joe talked about what role his faith in God, his religion, and his faith play in his life. And I can just imagine that this has been a huge part for him growing out of trauma, growing into a righteous man. And yes, we see some scenes in this film where he's praying and we get a vague glimpse into his religious background. But that's about it. I was actually really disappointed that the filmmakers decided to leave out all the religious aspects of his story and totally focus in on the psychological aspects. And you know, I wouldn't blame the filmmakers from that, because from everything I know about the filmmakers, they aren't Christians themselves. And a documentary like this, of course, isn't just about the subject story, but also the perspective the filmmakers have on their story. And I just know that for me, the life of Joe Greer, the religious and faith-based aspects of that would have been such an impactful and powerful and interesting part to include in a documentary about his life. That being said, this is a movie you should be supporting. Why? Because this story could have been told over a 2-hour podcast or a short YouTube video, but the filmmakers really put in the effort, went above and beyond to create a high quality cinematic feature-length documentary. And I think this is so great and admirable because not only it puts real life stories like this one, it gives a certain respect to real life stories like this one, but also it opens stories like this up to so many people that wouldn't, you know, sit down to watch a 2-hour interview, but would watch an artistic, cinematic, beautiful and entertaining documentary. And I think that's just what you get from watching Moving Still. So again, this whole movie is available to watch for free on YouTube. Go ahead and click the link in my description to see it. I really recommend it. I think you will have such a great time, and I believe that this film will mean a lot to certain people and actually be able to motivate them and bring them through their own hard times. Thank you so much for watching my review right here. I wish you all a blessed day and hope to have you back in my next video.